Hello and happy Sunday. I'm Brendan, Director of Family Ministries at Community Presbyterian Church, and I am out at a field near my house where there are some sheep and goats. There they are. And I thought this would be a fitting place to record this video because the story I'm going to share with you, Jesus speaks of feeding sheep. And there are some sheep and goats out there, so it kind of fits. I hope you're doing well. Hope your week has gone well. I think for many, last week might have been the most difficult week yet. The way that I felt, in the conversations that I've had with others, it seems like a lot of people were struggling with frustration and sadness, and everyone's just kind of sick of what's going on in the situation that we're in right now. And so, parents, again, these videos are meant to be an encouragement for you. They're meant to help you use the resources that are on our website. Remember, at communitypresbyterian.com, and then on the page Family Resources, there are all sorts of lesson materials to help you teach faith at home. And there's also all sorts of resources to help you parent with greater intentionality and to help your significant relationships thrive. And so be sure to check those out. And so this last week, the week after Easter, seemed to be challenging for many people, myself included. Lots of frustration, lots of sadness, and generally it seems like a lot of people were struggling in this last week, and that's okay. It's okay to not be okay. And there's reasons why we're feeling all of that, and hopefully we're taking some time to peel back the layers and really get at the root of why we're feeling this tension. It's more than just our schedules being disrupted. It's more than just some of us are having to not being able to work right now. It's more than having to pick up the challenge of teaching our kids. I think part of it is that some of the things that we've put our hope and trust in are being revealed to be things that we shouldn't be putting our hope and trust in. And that can create a lot of inner tension, be very difficult for people. And so, and it's something that Christians and non-Christians all have a tendency to do. In our weakness and in our sinfulness, we tend to elevate things of the world, like technology or like our governments or like science or technology or science. We tend to elevate those things as things that are of greater importance than God, and they end up dominating our lives. And now we've entered into this pandemic, and things have slowed down. We've gotten this chance to have a mirror sort of held up in front of us and really had time to think and assess about what we have placed in our lives and what is most important. And so I thought I'd share with you a story today about the Apostle Peter. Peter might be the one that we can relate to the most. He was the most vocal. He was the most brash of the apostles. He was the one that was constantly making the most mistakes. I definitely identify with him the most. Jesus rebuked him a number of times, including once calling him Satan. And we know that in the days leading up to, or the night that Jesus was arrested, Jesus predicted that Peter was going to deny Christ 3 times before the rooster crowed. And of course, Peter being Peter was like, Jesus, I would never do that. I love you too much. And then Jesus gets arrested. Peter's hanging out by a fire, and some people start accusing him of knowing Jesus. And Peter tells those people, like, I do not know that guy. I've never seen him before. And then the rooster crows, and Peter realizes what he's done, and he runs off and weeps bitterly. And so in the story I'm about to read to you from the Bible, it comes from the last chapter of John chapter 21. It's where Jesus appears to a few of the disciples who are hanging out fishing. And so I'll read that now. So we get this story in the Gospel of John in chapter 21, where Peter and some of the other disciples are fishing at a lake, and then Jesus appears. And they end up eating breakfast together, and then Jesus and Peter have a private conversation. And it starts off like this. After breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Master, you know that I love you. And Jesus said, feed my lambs. He then asked a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Master, you know I love you. And Jesus said, shepherd my sheep. Then he said a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter now was upset that he asked for the third time. Do you love me? So he answered, Master, you know everything there is to know. You've got to know that I love you. And Jesus said, feed my sheep. I'm telling you the very truth now. When you were young, you dressed yourself and went wherever you wished. But when you get old, you'll have to stretch out your hands while someone else dresses you and takes you where you don't want to go. So we know that Peter was an epic failure in many ways. He denied Jesus 3 times, abandoned him when Jesus most needed him. But then in this story where Jesus appears to the disciples again and has a conversation with Peter, we see this wonderful example of Christ's perfect and enduring love and grace and mercy and forgiveness. And Jesus recognizes Peter's failure, and he asks him 3 times, just like Peter denied Jesus 3 times. Jesus asks him, do you love me? And each time Peter responds more emphatically, yes, Jesus, of course I love you. You're God. You know that I love you. And Jesus reminds him, then feed my sheep. Do what I've called you to do and feed my sheep. And this is a really good reminder for us. You know, we're all like Peter. We have failed and we will fail again. And we're never going to be perfect. And each time in God's grace and his mercy and his love, he will gently remind us of what's most important, that he should be number one in our lives, and that he's called us to do something. He's called us to love him with all of our heart, our soul, our mind, and our strength. He's called us to love our neighbors as we would love ourselves. And he's called us to share our faith, to feed his sheep, to point others towards him. And one thing I'd like you to think about is, maybe in this corona pandemic where we're sheltering at home, our lives have slowed down. Some of the things that we have put as at high levels of importance or high priorities in our life are actually, they shouldn't have been high priorities, and we shouldn't have put our hope and our trust in them. And now they're crumbling away, and that's making us feel this tension and this frustration and this sadness. And through this pandemic and through sheltering at home, God is slowing us down and reminding us, hey, I know you're imperfect. I know you've put these other things at higher importance than me. And now is the time to remember that God is what we can put our hope and our trust in. Christ is our ultimate purpose in life, that we're here and have an opportunity to love God, to love our neighbor, and to share our faith. And I think the more that we can remember that through these times, the more that we can teach that to our kids and to our friends and to our neighbors, the more fulfilled we will feel, the more peace we will feel, and we'll be able to navigate these disruptions in our lives like the corona pandemic with greater confidence and hope. And so that's my encouragement to you today. I hope your Sunday goes well. And remember, there's all sorts of resources at communitypresbyterian.com, at Family Resources. And until next time, continue to love God, love your neighbor, and share your faith. See ya.